I really don't know what anybody expects South Africa to do with regard to Zimbabwe. After the elections in Zimbabwe, I can't remember now the exact year, but there were elections, presidential elections, when you had something like 22 or 23 presidential candidates. What year was that? And then you have these elections, and President Mnangagwa is elected president of Zimbabwe. He then called on all of the parties which had presented presidential candidates to come together to form some kind of political collective to discuss the future of Zimbabwe. And indeed, that formation emerged. The weakness with it was that some of the parties that had candidates did not participate. One of the results of that particular presidential election was that there were two of the candidates who, between the two of them, got 95% of the votes. It's the President Emerson Mnangagwa and Nelson Chamisa. Between the two of them, they had 95% of the presidential vote. The other 21 parties shared the other 5%. So, this formation that President Mnangagwa called for, parties that had the candidates must come together. Chamisa's party did not participate, plus 1 or 2 or 3, 4 others. So, now one of the demands that is being put forward by Zimbabwe, correctly, is the lifting of sanctions that have been imposed on Zimbabwe to create better space for the Zimbabweans to address their own development challenges. Particularly in sanctions imposed by the United States. So, I know many of the players, political players in Zimbabwe. So I went to see President Mnangagwa to say to him, President, I agree. We need these sanctions lifted. But part of what needs to happen, is that you Zimbabweans need to speak with one voice. Our colleague also raised this question about the need for Africa to make sure that it works as a bloc, to say that you as Zimbabweans need to speak with one voice on this matter, apart from any other consideration. And therefore, it seemed to me that one of the things that needs to happen is that these two parties, which had 95% of the presidential votes, need to get together to talk about the future of Zimbabwe. So that even on this matter, when we approach the rest of the world to say lift sanctions, it must be said by both. Agreed, we agreed. Yeah. Just get together and sort out these problems. And to cut a long story short, that meeting never took place. Yeah. I don't know if it's still relevant now, that kind of approach. But we were intervening as South Africans, as good neighbors, to say from our reading of the situation in Zimbabwe, this is what we thought we should do. I'm saying it did not produce any results. I don't know now what would be expected of South Africa with regard to Zimbabwe. I'm quite certain that the Zimbabweans are themselves are very much aware of the fact that they need to get together as Zimbabweans to discuss whatever it is that constitute the fundamental problems facing the country. And I think indeed that the Zimbabweans must be given space to do that themselves.
Yes, greetings all of you, dear friends, fellow Africans. Those are just views of former President of South Africa, Mr. Thabo Mbeki, on the issue of Zimbabwe, about the situation in Zimbabwe. But all in all, dear friends, fellow Africans, young people, people in Zimbabwe are demanding President Dambuso Mnangagwa to resign, to step down. But have asking myself, I have seen young people on the streets, and this is obvious in Africa when there's demonstration. Those who are demonstrating are always young people. But I'm asking myself, what if Mnangagwa is going to step down? Who will be the president of Zimbabwe? These young people, are they preparing their fellow young people to become a leader? The same we have seen in Burkina Faso or in Senegal, where young people or Africans who are youth or are young are taking power. Are we preparing as young people to take power? Or we are fighting for old men and women? So my request is that our old men and women, our elders, our politicians, don't use young people for your own interest. Don't use young people who are jobless, who are unemployed, to protest, to fight, sometimes themselves, for your benefit. Let us guide them. Let us prepare them to become leaders. If you look at the population of young people, is large. The population of young people is large. So we need leaders from these young people. These young people who are demonstrating for the benefit of politicians, for the benefit of elders, for benefit of old men and women, are those who are going to suffer. Because, you know, we are demonstrating, we are protesting, but we don't know what we want. There's someone who is sitting or who is standing somewhere and pushing his agenda or her agenda that we want changes, we want this and that. But that is not the needs of young people. Of course, young people have challenges. So sometimes when they see oxygen, they use those opportunities to breathe. And that's why sometimes you see young people in the street demonstrating, protesting. But if you ask them, after maybe President A or President B resign, do you have your own president who you think he can do what you want? Do you have leaders who can lead this country or this nation? Or you are expecting the same people? Because, you know, these politicians, these elders, they're playing with our minds. In Africa, you find that when election, for instance, let me take this example. You find that in the election, these politicians, one maybe in ruling party and another in the opposition, denying results. Then people starting fighting one another. People dying on the street. Then after a certain time, these leaders come together on the table. They come together to share and to discuss how they are going to share power. You see, maybe one is going to become a president, one is going to become maybe prime minister or vice president. That's what is happening. But remember that already young people has lost lives. Property has already destroyed. You see? And it is the same people. So don't expect changes will come. So that's why I'm saying that we young people, while we are demonstrating, we are demanding changes, let us prepare our own leaders. Let us having our leader that we think this man can become our president. Not these old men and women, not these elders, not these politicians. Let us find our own leaders. You see what is happening in Burkina Faso, in Senegal. And a good example is in Senegal. You remember that Dramai Faye was in jail. Then he came out from jail and became a president. It is possible. If you are already prepared to become a leader, there's nothing can stop you to become a leader. But young people, many of us, we have been used by politicians for their own interest. Someone is sitting in London, someone is sitting in Washington, or somewhere in capital city and pushing us young people on the street, demanding changes. And those changes is not reflecting the demands of young people. You know what young people right now need in this continent? They need to own these resources. They need to implement their ideas. If you can allow young people to implement their ideas, they can create their own jobs. We don't need someone to come and promise us jobs. Say, I'm going to bring jobs, I'm going to get employment opportunities. How? You have been here for 50 years. What have you done? Let us ask these politicians. Let us not be cheated, our fellow Africans, especially young people. You see, those who are fighting are young people. If you go to Sudan, if you go to Democratic Republic of Congo, in Somalia, those who are fighting are not elders, are not politicians, are young people. Politicians are sitting somewhere else, demanding and pushing young people to fight for their own agenda. You see, if maybe President A or President B is stepping down, the same generation, the same people are coming to become a president. And the problem will remain there because these people are the same. We need changes, and changes will be from young people. And that's why I'm always asking, do you know the age of Kwame Nkrumah when he took power in Ghana? What is the age of Samola Machel when he fought for freedom? What's the age of Nelson Mandela? What's the age of Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere? What's the age of Modibo Keita? Age of Thomas Isidore Sankara? They were young. So young people don't feel that you need to become too old for you to become a leader. No, what's the age of Captain Ibrahim Traore? At 37, he became a president, and we know what he's doing. We see what he's doing. Wonderful job. So young people, wake up. Don't sleep. Don't be used by politicians. Don't be used by old men and women. Take your responsibilities. Build your country. Build your nation. Build your continent. Thank you. The women. That's the question that I'm asking, because I have seen the one who is calling these demonstrations and protests is too hard, Mr. Geza. I'm not undermining him. I know he's a freedom fighter, but I think this time, at this era, we need energetic people who can lead this continent. We need young people who are so angry with changes, because to change leaders is one thing, and to acquire development is another thing. So I think we need leaders who are angry with development, and this leader can come from young people, because I've been saying this many times that our old men and women, they think just for a short time. Yes, I know, not all, but some of them, they think for a short time, and they want to acquire power for themselves, because we have seen we have these old men and women who are leading us in this continent, but just compare with Captain Ibrahim Traore. Let us take those who are too old, compare with Captain Ibrahim Traore, with 2 years in power. You can see the difference. Even those who are in power, who are too old, compare them when they came to power, when they are still young, and what they have done, and at this time where they're too old. You can see when they were young, they did a great job. They did a great work. So I think we need young people. We need young people who are so energetic, who can lead us. Instead of protesting to defend old men, to learn the agenda of old men and women in this continent, young people, we need to take our own responsibilities. You know, power is not given. Power is taken. So we need, as a young people, to prepare ourselves to become leaders, not to demonstrate, to protest for the benefit of old men and women. Otherwise, we never see the changes that we need, because these old men and women are the same. You know, generation is the same. For instance, if you look the generation of our founding fathers, if you look Kwame Nkrumah, you can see the idea of Kwame Nkrumah. It looks the same to the idea of Nyerere, looks the same to the idea of Patrice Emery Lumumba. So leaders or generation has the same ideas. So if you want to change leadership, I think we need to bring leaders who are so young, who are so energetic, who can bring changes in this continent. That's what I think. Those are just my thoughts on young people. I have seen young people in Nigeria demonstrated, young people in Kenya, of course, calling President Ruto to step down. But the question is, are we preparing our young people to take the lead, to learn our agendas, or we are going to replace the same people with the same character of leaders? So don't expect changes will come. I think for me, young people, while we are demonstrating, while we are protesting, let us first of all prepare our leaders. Let us prepare from us our presidents. Let us prepare us from us who will lead the continent or who will lead the country, the nation. I think through that we can demonstrate. We can go to the street, in our mind that we are going to the street, we are going to demonstrate, we are going to demand changes while we have our own leader who we know he can go there as a president and can bring changes. But we have seen that for more than 60 years, Africans, we are looks like on the same state. Changes is too little. And nowadays, we are celebrating this young leader of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traore, just in 2 years in power. But we have leaders who have stayed in power for more than 30 years. But look, compare what they have done when they came to power and after remaining in power for maybe 15 years, compare them. So I think when they were young, they did a great job. They did a great work. But when they become too old, the energy is decreasing. So even the way of thinking, it is different. So I think my opinion on this is that when we want changes as young people in this continent, let us prepare our own leaders. Let us prepare our young people, our own president, not the president from the same generation, because to change leadership is one thing. To get what we want is another thing. We can change leaders as we want. Every now and then we can change leaders, but without having the leader who know what we want, we are going nowhere. I think Zimbabwe, young people have been demonstrated in Kenya, in Nigeria, and many other places in the continent of Africa. But still, the question is, do we have leaders on those demonstrations? Do we have, what are we fighting for? We are fighting for changes. Who will bring those changes? The same people? Because we are just changing coats. People are the same. We're just changing clothes. So I think we don't need to change clothes. We need to change leadership. We need to have leaders who know what we want, who know what is our demands as young people. So up to that, my dear lovely family, friends, fellow Africans, those are just my opinions on what I heard about President Mbeki, as well as on the situation in the continent of Africa. So if you have anything, please make sure that you share with us your opinions. What is your perspective on this? But all in all, dear lovely family, friends, fellow Africans, those are just my thoughts. This is a place where we come together as Africans to share our thought, to find best solutions for our mother continent, Africa, especially to those challenges that are facing our continent. So young people, wherever you are, prepare yourself to become a leader. Prepare yourself to take your responsibilities, not going in the street fighting for old men and women, not going to the street being used by politicians. We want young people to play our part. Let us allow young people to show their capacities. And of course, our elders, what they need to do is to guide these young men, not to take these young men and women into streets for the benefit of themselves. So I think we are tired on this kind of that kind of behavior, that young people are being used by politicians. Thank you.
Thank you, Africa. African in green. Thank you, freedom. Thank you, Africa.